In this video, we're going to have a look at the basics of email. First, let's look at the word email, what it stands for. Email is a short form of electronic mail. Electronic means that it's digital, and mail means that it's a message that's being sent. So that's the basic explanation for the word email. So in this video, we're going to look at a few things. First, we're going to look at the purpose of an email, and then we're going to look at the different kinds of email IDs, and then we'll look at the proper format for a valid email ID. We'll see which are valid email IDs and then which ones are not valid email IDs. And then we'll have a look at how you can use your phone to check emails, how you can send emails, how you can look at information about an email, how to reply to emails, and then we'll look at what CC and BCC is. And then we'll look at the difference between reply and reply all. And then finally, we'll see how to forward an email. Basically, take an email that you have received and then send it to somebody else. So now let's look at the purpose of an email ID. So an email ID is also referred to as an email address. So if you think about address, the purpose of an address is that somebody is able to find you. They can send a letter or a package to you through your address. So if somebody wants to send you a package, they will write your name and address on the package, and that way that package will reach you correctly. So they have to write it without any mistakes. Only then it can reach you correctly. Similarly, an email address is a digital address. So if somebody wanted to send you an email, they need to enter your email address correctly without spelling mistakes so that it reaches you correctly. So whenever somebody sends an email, they need two things. First, they need a email ID for themselves, and they need to know your email ID. So the address that the email is coming from is called as the from address, and whichever email ID it's going to will be the to address. So the first purpose of an email ID is to send messages to somebody and then also to receive messages to yourself. The second purpose of an email ID is to use it as your identity. So whenever you're registering on a website, you'll need your email ID, because many websites use your email ID as your identity. So they need to know who is using the account. So they use your email ID as a way of knowing who this account is tied to. So now let's look at a few different kinds of email IDs. So here I've offered a few examples for different email IDs, and you can see that each of it has a different company name at the end of it. So most of you may be having a Gmail ID. Gmail stands for Google Mail, and Google Mail is a service offered by Google. So different companies offer their own email service. So how your email ID looks will depend on the service provider that is providing your email ID. And you can think of this as how different phone numbers are offered by different companies. So some of you may have a Jio phone number, some of you may have a phone number from Airtel or Vodafone or different service providers. So similarly, different companies will offer their own email IDs. But unlike your phone number, your email ID will depend on which company is offering it. Now let's look at what the valid format of an email ID is. So if you look here, the general format of an email ID is, first there is a username, and then there is an @ symbol. It's called @ or @ symbol. And then there's something called a primary domain name. So this can be something like Gmail or Yahoo or Outlook. Many different companies have their own primary domain names. And then there is a dot, and then there's something called TLD, which is called the top level domain name. So this TLD is basically something that comes after the dot. So this can be .com or .in or .co.in or .net. So it can be different kinds. So basically, for an email ID to be valid, you need to first have a username which has to be unique, and then there has to be an @ symbol, and then a primary domain name, and then a dot, and then a TLD. Now let's look at some examples of a valid email ID. So here I've got something called example username, and then there's the @ symbol, and then there's Gmail, and then dot, and then com. So if you add all of that, you get example username @gmail.com. So this is a valid email ID. And below you can see some other examples of valid email IDs. Your email ID username can contain numbers or symbols, but which symbols are allowed and which symbols are not allowed are determined based on the email service provider. For example, a Yahoo email ID can have an underscore, but Gmail usually does not let you have that underscore. Like this, there are some rules for each service provider. The thing to remember is that each username has to be unique for that service provider. So you cannot have the same username for two different email IDs provided by the same service provider. So now let's look at some examples of invalid email IDs. So if you look at the first example, here we don't even have the @ symbol. So because of that, this is an invalid email ID. And then in the second example, you see that there are 3 @ symbols. So that is also invalid. There should only be one @ symbol. And in the third example, you see that there are 2 dots. And then in the fourth example, you see that after the dot, there is a space. Spaces are not allowed in email IDs. In the fifth example, you see an underscore. So this is also not valid. And then in the last example, you see that there is a question mark in the username. In usernames, you don't get to see symbols like question mark or hash or semicolon or comma. So these things are usually not allowed in the username. Now these are only a few examples of invalid email IDs. There are many different kinds of errors that you can make in a valid email ID, but these are some examples to show you that valid email IDs have a proper format, and there are many other ways in which that format can be violated. One other thing that you need to keep in mind is that whenever you send an email ID to somebody, you have to make sure that there is absolutely no spelling mistake. Even if you make one small mistake, the email will not reach that person. Think of it like this: if you try to call somebody but you make a mistake in the number, you will not reach the right person. Similarly, when you type an email ID, you have to make sure that every letter is in the right place and there is no extra letters or extra characters in the email. Another thing that you can note is that email IDs are usually not case sensitive. What that means is that it doesn't matter whether you type your email ID in small letters or capital letters. Either ways, it will reach the right person. So now let's look at how to check your email on a phone. So the moment you open your Gmail app, you'll get a screen like this. And then at the top here, you can use this search box to search your email inbox. And here you can see the list of all the emails that you have received in your inbox. So this is basically the sender of your email. Here it says GitHub. So GitHub is the sender of this email, and this one is sent by Reddit, and then this one is sent by MLab support. And the next piece of information is the subject of the email. So here it says GitHub, please verify your device. So that is the subject of the email, and every email will have a subject and a body. So here you see the subject, and then underneath that the body of the email starts, and it will show as much of the body of the email as it can. So you can see that this email is gray color, and then this email is white and bold. So the difference is that this email has already been seen by you. So this email, you've read it already, so it's grayed out the email, but this email you've not opened it, so it's showing it to you in bold. So this is a read email, and then this is an unread email, and then this is basically the avatar of the sender of the email. So avatar is basically a photo or an image that represents the user. So this is the sender's avatar. So you can think of that as a profile photo, and here you can see when they sent the email. So similarly, you have the date here, so which date the email was sent. So this is an overview of your Gmail inbox. So now if you click on this R button, which is basically your avatar, so if you click on that, you'll get to see this page. So here you can see your name and then your email ID, and then here you can see the other email IDs that you have used in your Gmail app. You can have multiple Gmail accounts in the same Gmail app. So this is something important for you to know, because many of you may already have many different Gmail accounts on your phone. It could be your dad, your mom, and then you. Each of you have a Gmail account, and you can be using the same phone for all three of them. So here you can come here and see which email ID is currently being seen. So here if you click on this particular account, it will open the Gmail inbox of that particular email account. So there you will see all the emails that were sent to this particular email ID. Like that, each email account will have its own inbox, and you can come here and see which one you want to see. So now let's have a look at how to send an email. So here, if you see, there is a button called Compose. Now if you click on this Compose button, you'll get to see a page like this. So in the from address, you'll get to see your email ID. So here in the to address, you have to write the email ID of whoever you want to send the email to, and then the subject of the email, and then the body of the email. So once you've entered all the information, you've entered the to address, the subject, and then the body of the email, then if you click on this button, then your email will be sent to the to address. Now here, if you look at the to address, there is an arrow mark on the right side. If you click on that, you'll get to see two additional fields called CC and BCC. Now let's say that you want to send an email to somebody, but you also want some other people to know that you have sent this email to that person. then what you can do is in the CC field, you can add the email IDs of the other people who you want to inform that you are sending this email to this person. So the to field will contain the main recipient of the email, and the from field will contain the sender's email ID. So a sender is basically the person who's sending the email, and a recipient is basically the person who receives the email. And then CC, which stands for carbon copy, is the field where you will enter the email IDs of those people that you also want a copy of the email to be sent to. Now, if you want to send an email to a person, but you don't want them to know that you're also forwarding this email, same email to other people, then you can use what is referred to as a blind carbon copy, which is BCC. So here you can enter the email IDs of some people who will also receive the same email, but they won't know that this email has been also sent to some other people. So like this, you can use the same email to send to multiple people without any of them knowing that this email has been sent to other people also. Now, if this is all confusing to you, don't worry. Once you start sending emails and receiving emails, you'll understand what all of these are for. So when you open an email, you'll get to see something like this, where you have the subject of the email at the top, and then the body of the email that was sent. And then if somebody responded to that, you'll get to see those replies to the email one by one like this, sorted by date. So if you click on the initial email, you get to see the body of the email like this. So here you can see who this email was sent to. So now if you click on this arrow, you'll get to see an expansion of the from email and then the to email IDs. And then you'll get to see the date and time when this email was sent. So like this, you can see the details of the email when you click this arrow mark. So next, when you receive an email and you want to respond to that email, you can click on it and then you'll see these three buttons. It's reply, reply all, and then forward. So now if you click on reply, it will only send your reply to the sender of the email. So here Adarsh is the person who sent this email. So if you click on reply and then write something and send it, it will only go to Adarsh. So if you click on reply, it only goes to Adarsh. But if you click on reply all, it will be sent to Adarsh, the person who sent the email to us. But also it will include other people in the email thread and also send it to them in CC. So reply all basically means that you are sending a response to everybody who is present in the email thread, not just the sender. And then when you click on forward, you'll get to see that you are sending the email that you received to somebody else. It's somewhat like when somebody sends you a message on WhatsApp, you can forward the same message to somebody else. It's the same concept. So these are all some of the things that you can do with an email ID. First, we saw how to open the Gmail app and look at your inbox. And then we looked at how to change your account. As I said, the Gmail app can have multiple different Gmail accounts, and you can click on the avatar at the right top corner to look at all the other accounts that are in the phone. And then you can select that account to see the specific email sent to that account. And then we saw how to compose an email, which is basically to send an email. So when you click on the compose button, you can see all these fields, the to address, the subject, and the compose email, where you will write the body of the email. And then we saw CC and BCC. And then we saw how when you check an email, there can be multiple emails in the same email thread. And then we saw how when you click on an email, you can see the details of that email. And when you click on the arrow, you get to see other details of the particular email thread, like who started the email thread and who all it went to and what time, and all these things you can see about that email thread. And then we saw these three ways of responding to an email. So that's all of the things about an email that you need to know right now. If you watch this video and you don't understand everything, that's fine. As you start using your email and start sending and receiving more emails, you'll understand everything. There's no need to understand everything right now. I just wanted to give you an overview so that you are familiar with the concepts. So I hope this video was helpful. If you did not understand something, then you can feel free to watch it again. Thank you, students.